Hey YouTube, it's Yuwei from the Strictly Broken YouTube channel, and I'm profiling today the Pale Moon Loop deck. I used to get third place at the Toronto BCS Premium event, qualifying me for Premium World, something I was really looking forward to playing ever since moving from Waste, being like a really well-known Waste competitive player, to playing Vanguard. So I'm very thankful, very glad that I qualified, especially with Pale Moon, which, as you guys know, I'm a Pale Moon fanatic. Reason I chose this deck, not just because I love Pale Moon, it was like a really important meta call for the specific event I was going to. So DI was slated to be the best deck in Premium, Gold still being very strong, and I think Neos would have fallen out of favor. This deck, I really think beats everything except for Neos. This deck has an abysmal Neo matchup, and it really goes to show because I felt like if I didn't play Neos in the semifinals, I could have taken the whole event. Weirdly enough, I lost 2 games that day, and they were both Neos to the same person, who ended up winning the event with Neos. I think I took out a lot of the better Gold Paladin players for the Neo player, and it just paved the way for him to win the whole event. And I just lost to the same Neo guy twice, and unfortunately, I think I really could have taken it without, if I hadn't played him, or he got knocked out earlier. But congrats to him, he was a really chill guy. I'm just going to profile this deck, explain my choices. First of all, 3 Songster. This card is essential for the loop. Basically, after flipping 3 Cray Elementals, 3 is the minimum you want to do an optimal loop. You can use this effect when Periton comes out, call something, and then after that attack you can shove the adjacent Periton column, or this column if you want to fade the attack, and then you just basically loop Artilleryman's, which is the next grade 3. You basically loop this card to make huge number attacks, and you attack like 20, 30 times. You can do a ton of attacks with this deck, and they just die. The goal of the deck is to damage deny them at 0 until you can 0 to 6 them. Because Artilleryman will loop its attack, generally hovering like in the... if you set up like a large soul, it usually peaks at around 51, 54, which means they literally need to hit 5 defensive triggers to survive the full loop. It's really hard for decks to hit, obviously, to hit 5 defensive triggers. The deck's very consistent at like straight up killing. It's just getting to that point that can sometimes be challenging if you get rushed. Hence why Neos is the worst matchup. So yeah, I played 4 Songster, this card that you needed on Vanguard to loop 3 Artilleryman. In retrospect, I would have liked 4. Just because with Excel 2, just riding Excel grade 3s is really nice. Like, say you don't have Songster, you get to draw an extra card off with Artilleryman, and because you're damage denying a lot, oftentimes you're actually not Vanguard swinging, so just getting the draw off the Excel and passing is pretty nice if your opponent didn't commit a rear guard. I would have played 4 in retrospect. I played 3 Tricky Insistence just to basically suck up Honolly's is the main goal of the card. But I didn't use it all day for the tournament. It should have been a 4th Artilleryman. 4 Artilleryman is also nice because you'll draw them, and you can basically, if you had to ditch them for your G guards or whatnot, you can basically find it again. You'll have more in the deck. There was a game where I cut really close to not having artilleries anymore. I ran through 2 of them and I had 1 left in the deck. 4 would have been nice. 2 Trickies. You play high grade 3 counts, and I'll explain later because. Just for consistency on the only strat you're ever going to make, and also I play a starter that fetches grade 3s. So yeah, these 10. Grade 2, Periton, essential for the combo when placed out from Soul. Actually, it's not even from Soul, it's just when placed in general. You Soul Charge 1, call a unit. This facilitates the loops. You're calling out Trapezist to suck up Artilleryman, to recall out Artilleryman, and then when you run out of counterblocks, you're calling out Periton to call out something elemental tier, which gets you 3 countercharges, 4 countercharges, 2 countercharges, depending on how many face-up Cray Elementals are in your G-zone. This is the essential card of the loop. Riding tier and then riding this is like a ride chain, because once you have those 2 cards in Soul, you literally just need any 2 cards to begin looping. I'll explain that in a bit in the end of the video. Once I play this deck a ton, and what you quickly realize is that beginning to loop is extremely simple because you can just keep fading Periton to recall Periton by going like Periton, attack boosted, Songster, suck to recall it until you find and soul charge all the pieces you need to just completely wreck them. So you really don't need any of the cards in your hand. You just need any 2 cards, one having to be a booster. So yeah, very important. 4 misdirections. Just to consistently draw heals. Like I said, optimally you want at least minimum 3 face-up Cray Elementals. And to get 3, because you're usually striding like a Mirandol first and flipping a Mirandol, so that's 2. You need to at least see 1 heals for you to pop off. Having 2 heals is really weak because I think if your opponent hits like 3 defensive triggers, then your loop stops, and it's really hard. Like when you're trying to 0 to 6 people, 3 defensives is like not that abnormal. So you really need to see heal to be able to have 3 face up. It's really important. So you can consistently kill people. I use this a lot that day. This card gets even better in my build because I play a Forerunner starter. So you can suck up the Forerunner starter immediately and get like a similar value as if you played a draw starter with this effect. So I basically don't have to play draw starter, and I can play a Forerunner starter with another ability. And then 3 copies of Seesaw. This card's only good for like if they're trying to damage it now you back. Which I predicted because, you know, DI can kind of do that. DI was like the big deck that I was trying to beat because I thought, like, this deck just shits on DI because they need Counterblast to play the game. And for the tournament, I felt like a lot of DIs weren't playing Bobo because of how aggressive the meta is. Everyone's attacking you, so Bobo's kind of obsolete. But if I played against DI and they knew the matchup, I think they would damage deny me. So I'm just hoping that, like, they send me to 1 damage and I could loop Seesaw to go to 5 damage and kill them. I didn't play I didn't play Bobo because I thought people would at least give me 1 damage. It's very like next level to give no damage, and like people have a hard time giving up like Vanguard swings and in general. So when I'm running 6Ks and 8Ks, for them to, you know, make the conscious decision not to attack, which I did a lot during the tournament, is very, very next level. I didn't expect it for a tournament where people haven't seen Pale Moon Loop in a while. So yeah, like, I gotta be honest, like in future tournaments, if this deck does become mainstream, it gets a lot worse. People will find counters to play against it. But every once in a while, I think this deck will top it like every time. The loop is so consistent to pull off. Yeah, so 11 grade 2s. Grade 1s, I play 4 10k shields, and also has a Ditch Draw Soul Charge 2. Helps Soul Charge pieces for the loop when you go for the loop turn. And 10k shields is just really nice because against like Gold Paladin, when they go Excel 2, having a 10k shield fades all of their 17 boards they can make. Like they can go 12 into Excel, which is 17, 9k boosted by an 8k 17, and 10k stops all those attacks with 1 card. So that was really important. The Soul Charge, I didn't actually use the Dish Draw Soul Charge 2 that often. The 10k was like the more important part. In retrospect, I would have liked to play the new, there's a grade 1 that came out in Phantasmal that's a vanilla grade 1 7k, but it has 15k shield. I would rather play that because I was forced to ride this 8k card a couple times, and the problem with that is like I can't do the damage denial attack play, which is go Vanguard swing with a 6k body like Trapezist, unboosted, so that it doesn't hit, and if I hit trigger I can pump the rear guard. Because when I rode the 8k I was just forced to not attack, which is like I lost a card in that sense. I also had to ride my 10k shield. So I would have liked to play that 7k instead. I think in retrospect would have been a lot better. But the tournament I played this one. It's fine. It's fine. 10k shield's fine. And then yeah, 6k body, purple Trapezist, the broken card. It's for the loop. So you go Periton, call this out, suck up the Artilleryman on the board that's rested, and summon a fresh Artilleryman. Very important. Yeah, it's essential for the loop. And then the other 6k body that's also for the loop is Tier. Once you run out of counterblasts with your Songsters and everything, you call this out with Periton and countercharge 3 or 4 or 2. Never got. It's really hard to get like a 5 countercharge game state. Like you're actually just like straight up winning when you have 5 countercharge. Because that means you like flip Mirandol with 3 G-guards. That's like insane. But yeah, it's 6k body too, so when you ride this, you can just swing unboosted, and people don't really play that many 6ks right now, so you will probably not hit, which means damage deny, plus you get the attack from the drag check. So those are the normal units. Triggers 4 of the stand. Essential to the combo. Helps you not deck out, and then you can pull off like 2 more artilleryman attacks. Because you go Vanguard, drive check, and stand, 2 artillerymen, and so this like extends the loop by 2 more attacks in the end. Helps set up pieces when you soul charge them randomly in the early game, which is like really important too, just to ensure that you're always consistently comboing off. The weakest part of this card obviously being 5k defensive, but you need to play it. There's like no way around it. This card helps you not deck out and continue to loot people. And then 8 draws, 4 PG draws, and 4 vanilla draws, all V series, so you get the 10k defensive. 10k defensive against like, at any point against like, what's it called? A gold paladin, like stops your turn completely. Because they have to go Excel 2. Like some people, after seeing my list, are saying Excel 1 can counter me. Gold paladin going Excel 1 is like completely griefing, because that deck just, if you don't go Excel 2, you don't draw the cards needed to fulfill those circles in the first place, making your like Wonder Easels like basically a trash card. Because Wonder Easel, the strength of it is it's like a draw 1 that also filters 1. If you lose the draw 1 part of it, then the Excel you're generating is like not as valuable as if you just like go Excel 2 and then replace the column and then just attack for a bunch of 5 guards. Like I just don't think going Excel 1 is a viable solution against this deck. And so this a defensive draw will always stop their turn basically. Even against Neos, if you hit the defensive draws at the right time, you can win the game. So it's really important to hit these defensive 10s. And then lastly, 4, once again, 10k shield defensive V series heals. I really don't need the counter charge from like the resource heals, so this is perfectly fine. All the G-Guards you actually make in this deck are on average worse than the 20k shield from it, but you need to make 3 elemental G-Guards, so that's kind of funny. That happens a lot. You're usually G-Guarding for less value than having to just block with the 20k, but yeah, defensive 10's OP. And then for starter, I play this card. So it's a Forerunner, meaning you can ride 6ks and attack unboosted to basically deny them counterblast and get your drive check off. And then when you hit grade 2, if you don't have Songster in hand, you can look at 5/4 Songster. You can trapeze it back out and then look for Songster again. So similar to kind of how Bermuda can consistently look for the grade 3s, this deck can find Songster very easily if you don't have it already. I didn't whiff Songster all day, which was like really important. Sometimes you'll whiff it and it's auto lose. Other than that, like I said, with Misdirection, playing a Forerunner starter means you're basically playing a draw starter anyways in terms of value. So it didn't really matter which starter I played. I think this is actually the way to go for all Pale Moon Loop decks. You should play this one. Yeah, onto G-Zone. 2 Marindol. There was an argument to play 1 Marindol, but I really didn't need the space in the G-Zone. It was not very important. And there was actually a game where I went Sabreeze into Marindol, flip Marindol. Because you really don't want to flip your G-Guards. It's not a big deal to flip them, but you prefer not, since you're already like barely using your G-Zone. It doesn't really matter too much if you're flipping. Yeah, it just really doesn't matter too much if you're flipping like another Marindol. Like you just have so much extra space in your G-Zone. You can play anything you want, and you might as well save the 4 G-Guardian slots for flipping actual G-Guardian with their heals. Then I played 2 of the Darkness Princess, 3 Harrys. I never made these, but it's good for like chaos matchups. Good against Messiah. Good against Link. Just Link Joker decks in general. There was, I don't know what's called, Freeze Ray. There was like 2 Freeze Rays running on XO, and like this card was this setup was supposed to theoretically protect me from Freeze Ray. It's like Freeze Ray's still a terrible matchup, but this is theoretically supposed to help me with that matchup because this sucks up zones. But thankfully I didn't run into the Freeze Ray decks, so that would have been an unfortunate situation had I met them in Swiss. And then once Sabreeze, just another Kree Elemental. Sabreeze makes it so that playing the grade 2 game against this deck actually doesn't work. Some people are like, oh, you can kill this deck by playing grade 2 game and rushing them. Once you go to like 2 damage in grade 2 game, if they didn't re-ride, you just go Sabreeze. If you have double G-Guard, you're going to combo them like even faster. So it's actually like wrong to play grade 2 game if you don't re-ride it. But like decks can't even re-ride forever. It's like pretty hard. Everyone plays really thin grade 2 lineups, so yeah, I think having Sea Breeze makes it so that grade 2 gaming against this deck doesn't actually work unless you're committed to doing it for the rest of the game. And then G Guardians, I play one of this. I never made it. Theoretically, it's supposed to help me filter for a combo piece if I'm missing one. But it's very counter. Like, you're never gonna make these because you'd rather just flip Kree Elementals every time. And then this card, I never made it, but it can flip. This card, because it's a flip G Guard, can actually flip Kree Elemental. So it's 30k shield. It never came up, but it could. One of this, it's the biggest G Guard in Pale Moon generically, because you can just call it a heal. It's 35k shield if you soul charge a heal. If you called out like the starter, it's 25k shield. So yeah, I didn't make it either, but it's fairly decent. One Colburn, I made this a lot. It's the first Kree, and it's like, if your opponent's playing like any kind of deck that has like a decent sized hand, it's like the biggest G card you can make. Ditch one, and it gains an increment of 5k for every 2 cards in your opponent's hand. Then I played 2 copies of Ractome. Ractome is like always valuable because you're getting rid of, like, your deck has like so many grade 3s in it, and they're blanks in the late game. So you want to like get rid of them in your hand, draw a card. If you draw any kind of like new unit, it's more shield. If you draw any kind of, what's it called? If you draw any kind of trigger, it's still good because it's more shield. And then if you don't draw a trigger, you thin the deck by 1 to hopefully see a trigger. It's just like a win-win. There's no lose situation with Ractome. And so it's just good to, it's always good to G-Guard into it if you can ditch a non-shield unit for like any draw. And then finally, because I had the space, I played 2 copies of Dismal. Now I don't have rear guards to protect with Dismal, but it's like really important for the what's that world called? The water world. Any deck that can basically make the ballerina, whatever it's called, that progenitor dragon, because this deck's actually really bad against that. If they can just like force their attacks to go through, it's really hard to like protect yourself from dying. But this card has resist, so it protects itself from Bala, whatever. Didn't actually come up, but testing I played against like Bermudas, played against Grand Blue, and if they stride the Bala, the progenitor dragon, it was actually pretty hard to win. So I had to protect myself from those matchups, and I played 2 of those. So yeah, that's the G zone. Let me think. Yeah, I'll just quickly show the combo. I think a lot of you guys know the combo by now, because this deck topped a few times in teams. But typically you'll have this on the board, and you have 3 face-up Kree Elementals, so you can basically, when you play down Periton, you can call out Trapezist, and then resuck up your Artilleryman, or in the beginning of the loop you're usually calling something less powerful, anything that just hits. We can use this as an example, so this hits 17. In the beginning turn, if they just don't hit defensives, you can just loop this, and it's like way easier. You don't have to worry about paying extra counterblast when this unit hits. But you'll go like this swing, and on the swing you'll suck up like this column. On the swing you'll suck up this column to recall out this column, to like you'll recall this column. Let's put another Trapezist in for simplicity's sake. Trapezist. You'll recall out this column to like restand this, and then you go like swing, suck up, call this, restand this, and then like at some point these columns will stop hitting. Like they're guaranteed to stop hitting. They'll hit like a defensive, because this is 15, and even a 5k defensive stops it. And then you can just start like attacking and fading the attack. Call this. And then you go artillery, and then you can just attack, fade the attack, call this. At some point when you're out of counterblast, you go tier, counter charge 3, attack, fade the attack, and then go back to this, and then call Artilleryman again, and you just keep going, and then they die. Deck does like way too many attacks. No deck can survive. They literally need to hit 5 defensive triggers, and they have to be defensive 10s. For this deck to not necessarily win. And even if they hit 5 defensive 10s, if you had like the nuts game, you still win. It's pretty insane. So yeah, this deck was 100% a meta call for the tournament. If you're gonna play this deck in future tournaments, you're gonna have to watch out, because Bobo shits on this deck. As soon as your opponent has a Bobo, you're just not actually. Your damage now plan, which keeps you competitive against all the powerful decks, it no longer works. So now they have damage. They can just try to kill you. Like best example is like if Luar drops one Bobo, they go from being able to do nothing to you first stride to being able to do like a very strong kill turn on you first stride, and that's like the difference between winning and losing. So yeah, watch out for Bobo if you're gonna play this in the future. I really don't recommend it for like a little while, maybe in a couple tournaments, and you can play this again when people don't expect it and aren't playing Bobo anymore. Yeah, because even DI, you might want to play. Like, people might even play Bobo because DI kind of tries to do a little bit of damage denying themselves. I'm just not sure. If the tournament isn't going to play Bobo, this deck is just suddenly like a top tier deck. If there's a lot of Bobos, this deck is just like pretty poo. So yeah, that's it. I'm really glad I got my invite for Vanguard. Very happy about that. Yeah, this is Yuwei from Strictly Broken signing off. Peace.